Hey, what's going on, y'all? This is your boy June Archer here, the Winner Circle on thisis50.com. My guest today, executive producer, television producer, woman extraordinaire. She's doing some amazing things. We're going to talk about it today. Please welcome to the show, Miss Dorothy Toran.
Hi, June. How are you?
How are you doing?
Good. Thanks so much for having me.
I'm so excited to have you
I'm
here.
so excited to be here.
Couple of things.
Sure.
You just had an amazing event.
Yes.
Celebrating Lupus Foundation.
Yes.
I want to talk about that, but this morning you were just honored by the Bank of America.
Yes.
Talk about how important that was in terms of everything that you've been doing and accomplishing. How does that fit into all the things that you've been doing recently?
You know, I think I'm so inspired. You know, a lot of times when you're honored, I think the perspective is that you're inspiring other people. And for me, it's quite the opposite. Like this morning, I was so humbled to be honored by the Bank of America and the National Association of Black Accountants, NABA. And I was so inspired in that room. People are so, especially when you think about like people in finance, like you feel like everyone's like really like straight-laced and you know, that crowd was just so warm and welcoming. It was great to be able to share stories, and what it reminded me of is that it's the ties that bind us, right? Yes. So it's like the human connection, and that transcends industries and all of those things. So I was so inspired by them, really. It was wonderful, it was great. We got to share, we got to talk about what empowerment of women really means. It was interesting because we had a fireside chat, and in the fireside chat, one of the things that we talked about was like, what does power really mean? I was being presented with a power award that was amazing, and like, what does it really mean? And what I said was, it's interesting, the more I live, the definition of power changes tremendously. When I was a young producer, I've been a producer for 23 years, though I shouldn't ever say that, but it's true.
That right there alone
let's just
is something amazing.
Bypass that part. I've been a producer for 23 years, and so early in my career as a television producer, it was about the shows that I was working on, how well the ratings were, what the accolades were that came as a result of that, and then what opportunities continued to come to me as a result of that previous success. And as I have really been able to live more and experience things that I never knew that I would experience, power really changes for me. For me now, power is about mentorship. It's about loving fully and really being present. It's about being able to see someone and say, I see you and I acknowledge you and you're important. And if you need me, I'm here. So it's like really support and lifting each other up. I'm a huge proponent of mentorship. I have a staff that on the show that's primarily women, and I'm very proud of that, and I really, work to encourage that and to shape that. So I think power is really about bringing your best self to somebody else to help them be their best selves. Like, that's what power really is to me.
I love that piece.
Yeah.
With this acknowledgement, and you being 23 years, you have tenure in that space, probably when a lot of women of color were not.
Sure.
Probably weren't welcome, not allowed.
Right.
How important getting this award, being a mentor, is it to be a positive female woman of color in that space for other women, whether they're black, white, Hispanic, polka dot?
Sure.
How important is that? Because we see images on television that are unlike, and I get it, ratings are a big part of it, entertainment is a big part of it. Sometimes people can't take the entertainment out of what they're getting, but for you, how important is it to be a positive female role model for women that are looking to you to say, oh, I want to do exactly what Dorothy's doing, or how does she do it, how does she get there? For you, can you share with us like how important that is?
Sure. Being a role model and being an example of what's possible for other women is critical to me, because there were women that paved the way that were an example to me. And I think a lot of times we don't recognize the power in ourselves. We don't think that we can do something. And you need someone to tap you on your shoulder and say, hey, you can do this, like, you've got it. And sometimes all it requires is for you to hear that, to say, oh wait, I do have the skill set, I do have the talent, I do have the ability to do something. Sometimes literally that's why the I see you is so important, and you can do it is so important. I also firmly believe that you need to surround yourself with people that are smarter than you. I always, I say to my team all the time, everybody in this room is smarter than me. And that's exactly how it's always gonna stay. Because if I find that when you feel like you're the smartest person in the room, you probably are the least smartest person in the room. So it really is about being able to pull on a lot of different perspectives, a lot of different information, a lot of different knowledge. I mean, we make unscripted programming. And creatively, you need a whole bunch of perspectives. There are many ways to look at something. It's very subjective. So I really, like, one of my core tenets in terms of my management style is tell me what you think. And also being able to say, I don't know. I think we struggle with being able to say you don't know something.
Right, like you take power away from yourself.
Exactly,
by admitting that.
Yeah, and I just dispute that on his face, and my team laughs at me sometimes because I think there's a perception that oh, Dorothy, what do we do? And there are times when we sit back and we're in a situation. It's funny. Last year we took the cast of The Real Housewives of New Jersey to Cabo. And we flew into Cabo, we had all of these creative plans, and the morning after we got there was a hurricane, like a Category 3. And all those plans literally and figuratively washed away, done. And it was 60 or 75 members of production all huddled in the hotel lobby what are we gonna do? And everybody turned to me. And I said, I don't know, guys. I'm not really sure what we're gonna do. And we figured it out. Right. But I think I have no idea what we're gonna do right now when we've just figured out that we're in the midst of the eye of a hurricane. I don't know what we're gonna do. So I think there's comfort in that as much as it seems like there isn't.
I agree.
There's comfort in okay, this is as crazy to her as it is to everybody else.
Right, so we're going to be all right.
So we're gonna be all right and we're gonna figure it out. I think that's so hard for us to do as humans. It's hard to acknowledge when you don't have something figured out. And I don't know how to, I couldn't operate in a space where I always had to have the answers because I think it's impossible for any one person to have every answer.
That's true. I think, and I want to talk about the working mom piece because
sure.
I think that ties into what you just said.
We talked about that this morning too.
In the eye of the storm, when all plans that were probably hours in the making are done, as working parents, you're trying to figure it out. And we're just talking off camera about getting kids ready, trying to be mom, trying to be wife, trying to be entrepreneur, trying to be executive producer.
Right.
How do you maintain that balance? And what kind of support do you get outside of work? Because work is one piece, but all these other things are happening all at once. How do you, for the women who are watching and listening and saying, Dorothy, I can't figure it out.
Right.
I got a kid here. Me and my husband, we trying to figure that out. Trying to work and how do you best tackle that?
It's interesting. I, first of all, have an incredible support system in my husband. My husband is our everything, literally, we don't function. We are not, nothing happens unless he's guiding the ship. Because we don't have gender roles in our marriage and in our family, and so we do what needs to be, what's required.
All hands on deck.
He's all hands on deck. I mean, I work very long hours on set, and he works in corporate America. So he's the one picking up our little one from school. He's doing homework, bath time, tea parties,
things that
doll
dads
dances,
do.
All the things that dads do that nobody wants to say that dads do. Y'all do those things, but nobody wants to say.
We're not babysitting our children.
Right, yeah, you're not babysitting your
children.
You're taking care of your children, Lord have mercy, yes. And so my husband is a critical piece of how I can do the things that I do. I don't think in my life, I've learned from myself, and everyone's perspective is different. The idea of balance, I don't think exists actually. And it's interesting when I'm asked that question a lot. We talked about this with Bank of America NABA this morning. I think that they're always trade-offs. Shonda Rhimes wrote this incredible book called Year of Yes.
Yes.
And the one thing that I learned, which became a defining principle of my life the second I read it in her book, is that you're going to be, when you're really successful at work, something at home is crashing and burning.
Right.
And when you're at the kids' school recital or school play, I have a network that's angry because I'm late on a deadline. And what I have learned to do, and it's also like I work on it every second of every day, and I am always juggling it. And when I think I figured it out, then like something else drops, and I'm like, okay, that doesn't work. Is if I know that I'm gonna be with the kids or with my husband, I already know that there's gonna be a delay and a deficit at work. And I accept that there's gonna be a delay and deficit at work.
Key word,
I accept it.
Key word.
And I accept. And you have to do things that make sense, but I accept it and I know the consequence of what's the deficit.
Right.
And I make a conscious decision that I'm focusing on the kids today. I'm focusing on Layla, I'm focusing on Bradley, I'm focusing on Rich. Like that's what I'm doing. And there are times when I have to make work the priority and my husband's like, babe, it's good. I got it.
That.
Go. I got it. And then I know that I still may have the kids like, you are really not coming to my recital, or you're really not coming to like the spring carnival or whatever it is. And that's something that also has to be dealt with. Like you just can't push your children to the side because you've got something over here to do.
And it tugs on you.
And it tugs on you, and it's guilt and it's sadness and all those things, but you make a conscious choice, and the acceptance piece that you pointed out is the biggest piece of that. And some days acceptance is harder than others, depending on what you're missing and what the give and take is. But I don't think it's possible to operate at 100% in every component and aspect of your life all the time. I wish someone, please tell me how to do it if anybody knows. I don't think it's possible for me. So I just I know that there's trade-offs, and I try to find peace with that.
I think the important things that you just shared is the acceptance piece, the guilt piece.
Yeah.
Now, some people are built to do certain things, and they're like, you some days you just can't feel guilty. Like it is what it is. Like if you're home handling it and you're gonna hold that down, I'm not gonna feel guilty that I am not there.
Right.
And don't make me feel guilty that I am not there.
Right.
Because I'm over here trying to make my magic happen the best way I know how.
Yeah.
And for some people, we're not saying that everyone needs to be married or have a spouse, but find a support system that works for you, that you can work outside of home, in home, and juggle it, and accept the fact that some days
something's gonna fall short. And it's also about friendships. Like I have an amazing, incredible, I'm so blessed to have friends that are critical thinkers. And I mean, more times than not, I will, it's so funny. I juggle millions and millions of dollars in television at work. And I know that I've mastered that. And sometimes something like, okay, Layla has a birthday party at 3, musical theater at 12, ballet at 10:30, and she has to get her hair braided, and then we have to go to my mother-in-law's. Like, and I totally I blank out. And I'm like, and I have to call like a girlfriend and say, all right, these are all the things I have to do. How am I gonna do it? I really do that. And my girlfriends will say, well, you can't do all those things. So you gotta figure out, hair's gotta move on a different, whatever it is. But I find like I rely on
those critical thinkers
in my life to be like, okay. But it's so funny because you would think I am a master critical thinking in my living, but like trying to get Layla to like 2 activities, I'm like a wreck.
It's a different beast.
And we talked about that off camera too a little bit. It's a different beast. Like trying to get her to, school all the time. It's like, it's real. Like this is not. It's different.
On set, you can make those people do what you want to do.
That's right.
But when you get home, these little people don't do exactly what you need.
And your children are also like
children.
They're children, and you're their parents. So all of this, like, we have all these titles, and it's all fancy, and my kids are like, "Did you get the note about my science project? Yes or no? And are you gonna get the notebooks? And also, can you call so-and-so's mom? Because I'm trying to go over there for like a plate. Like it's nobody's interested in like your title.
You didn't sign this, mom, but I know you sign off on budgets all day. But did you sign this paper?
Did you sign this paper for my trip? Yes, exactly.
You're like, I can't. Trying to figure it out.
So it's just you just have to roll with it, and also like I'm a very type A personality, right? So it is uncomfortable to be messy and to feel disorganized.
Right.
But parenthood just is.
It is.
So it just is what it is. It's a juggle.
It's a juggle. Now, you've been super successful with Housewives of New Jersey.
Thank you.
How did you land the opportunity to be in that position?
Before Housewives of New Jersey, I produced another Bravo show. So I've been in the Bravo family. I've been on Housewives for 5 years. And I was a producer on a show called Manzo with Children for 3 years before that, and that show was for 3 seasons. So so I've been in the Bravo family for about 8 years. So awesome. That is where doing Manzo was a show that gave me the opportunity to really flex. And that's the other thing, you're hired for one thing, but there's always a demonstrative opportunity to be able to pull on other things and show other talents and other skills.
But you have to show up.
Got to show up. And it's not about talking, it's about being prepared and showing that you are capable, and can do the work. One of the things that I'm really proud of, and it's always funny when the network says this to me, I am one of the executive producers on the show, and I'm also the executive in charge of production. I'm the only person that has that dual role at the network. So
amazing. That is amazing.
Really thankful for that. But it's about, showing up and doing the work, and sometimes it's messy, and it doesn't mean that mistakes don't happen. I'm in crisis management all day long on the show, all night long. But it's, it's what's required.
When you have the opportunity, you talk about mentorship. Mm-hmm. How do women, especially women of color, mm-hmm. get these opportunities? Is it schooling? Is it networking? Because I talk to kids about how important networking mm-hmm. is mm-hmm. and being prepared. Mm-hmm. You sleep with your sneakers on because you never know.
Yes.
If you stay ready, you never have to get ready.
That's right. That's right.
How important and what keys to success can you give those who are looking to not only be in your industry, but mm-hmm. for any line of work, to be prepared, to network, to really make their magic happen?
Sure, because it's applicable. The first thing I always encourage is be consistent. So you have to, you talk about having your sneakers on so you don't have to get ready. Be consistent in the networking piece is very important, but sometimes, as a young person in any industry, you network and you reach out. You could reach out to 20 people and get 20 business cards, and nobody responds to you, right. and nobody emails you back, and people act like they've never met you before, and sometimes that's discouraging. People don't have to remember you. You have to continue to be memorable. They have the job that you want, or they're in the industry that you're in. They don't have to remember you, but you have to be memorable. So I think the first thing is being consistent and not being discouraged, which is easier said than done for sure, but not being discouraged when it's not instant gratification. Right. I think in our world these days, especially young people, everything's it happens today. Oh, I emailed them today, tomorrow I should have a job. No, that's not how it works. So I think it's about being consistent. I think it's about being prepared. Know the industry that you want to break into as much as you can. Certainly there's some things you might not have the ability or the scope or the money to be able to seek out, but as much as you can, because I find whenever I come across, especially young women of color, there were so many this morning at Bank of America that came up to me and said, this is what I can do, and this is where I'm stuck. This is where I'm stuck really resonates with me, because I think a lot of times when young people network, they think that networking is about talking a good game and saying all the things that they think are the right things to say. Right? And that's going to be what's impressive to somebody, to an executive or anybody that you're trying to impress. I'm never impressed by that. It's always a red flag for me. Because
you put them over here.
It's always a red flag, because the whole point is that you need support, and you have this piece, but I'm trying to figure out this piece and I don't know how. That resonates with me so much, and I have been blessed and fortunate, because I also think mentorship blesses the mentor even more than the mentee. So I always, I often try to really hook on to those women and those young women and young people and say, okay, let's figure out how to get you the support in this area that you need to shape. And I think it's also be open to what getting your foot in the door looks like. Like, it doesn't necessarily look like you get a job tomorrow. It doesn't necessarily mean that. It could mean you get coffee for 30 minutes.
Very possible.
In that coffee, you learn a lot of things that you need to know that you didn't know before that coffee. So I think it's like not having an expectation of what you think getting your foot in looks like. Because a lot of times I think the perception is like, oh, get your foot in the door, like you'll have a job. Not necessarily, or not necessarily right now. So it's just about being open to the expectation.
20 plus years.
Yeah.
What is the best piece of advice that you were given that helps you get through tough days?
What other people think of you is not your business. What other people think of you is not your business. You have to focus on being consistent with yourself, being the best that you can be, recognizing when you stumble and course correcting that, and continuing to be who you are. If you remain consistent, it'll speak for itself. Like, the universe will meet you where you are. But I think we get so caught up in, what are they gonna think if I do that? What are they gonna think if I were? And a lot of the time, what we're obsessing about, wondering what other people think, people aren't even thinking about us. People aren't even thinking at all about the thing that you are obsessing over, that you think that they're thinking about.
9 times out of 10.
Nine times out of 10.
I truly believe.
You know, they're not thinking about it.
At all.
And if people are thinking about it, if people do have a perception about you, what can you do about it? But show up and be consistent and do the work. It really is none of your business what other people think of you. It only matters what you think of yourself.
And if you're worried about that, that means you're not focused on
exactly. You're not focused on what you should be working on.
So
absolutely.
I find that truly important.
Yeah.
How transparent? Because I find that sometimes, especially as adults, and I've been having a problem in this space with men and women, but for us to be as transparent as possible, we talk about the working parent piece. We talk about not the struggles, but some of the roadblocks and hurdles that you have to jump over as a woman of color in your area. But how important is it, I should say, to be transparent, or as transparent as possible, to show mentees that they can do exactly what you're doing?
Oh, I think you just have to, if you're gonna give somebody a seat at the table, give them a seat with a good view. So you have to be able to show all the flaws and the mistakes and the things that crash and burn, because that's how you learn, and that's how you understand that, oh, it doesn't look as easy as that. Like, all of this happened, like they got success ultimately, but all of these things kind of crashed and burned, and then they got to success, and these are the tools. You know, when I bring people into production for the first time, I really try to bring them into as many train wrecks and fires as possible. Because I don't set them up for easy things, because that's just not the reality of what making television or anything really is about. So I think it's about just throw them in and say, all right, you need to help us solve this. And have them be totally bewildered, because they will be in the beginning, but you'd be surprised how much tenacity, like if they're really gonna stick, that they have to figuring it out.
I love that piece. And I think that's important, because I feel like there's a lot of pieces that connect with social media. Like, we're worried about what people see and say on social media.
And how easy it looks on social media.
And we're not transparent on social media, because we give everybody a highlight reel.
Yeah.
Right? It's like, I didn't tell you that I had to go get a shape up.
Right, exactly. I just gave you the cut. Right, I just gave you the cut.
You know what I mean? Like,
I
find that we don't do we do a disservice to
for sure.
everyone.
For sure.
I want to talk about something that's really near and dear to you. Lupus. Intervention, prevention, education is really near and dear to you. You lost a sister to it.
I did.
What do we need to do to learn more about it? Where can we go? And how do people find out how they can support this cause?
First, thank you for being so supportive of it and talking about it. My younger sister, Wade, passed away 3 years ago of lupus at the age of 33. We believe, had lupus since she was 2 years old, but it was not diagnosed until she was 16. So 2 to 16 is a really long time. And she passed away at 33. Lupus affects women, 1 out of 9, women to men, and women of color disproportionately. all during childbearing age for the most part. So really, lupus diagnosis for women, especially women of color, come between like 15, 16 and about 33, 34.
Okay.
And the challenge with lupus is that it's not like a blood test and then that's what you have. There's not one thing that a doctor can do to diagnose you with lupus.
Okay.
It's a variety of things. I'm the national ambassador for the Lupus Foundation of America, and the statistics and research at LFA tell you that it usually takes 8 or 9 doctor appointments over the course of 2 to 3 years before you're diagnosed properly, if you have lupus.
Wow.
Because lupus is a disease where it's autoimmune and your system fights against each other. If you don't know for 2 years, it's a long time for your body to be fighting without support and knowing what's wrong.
Right.
And that really does become, time running out in a lot of instances. Certainly was the case for Wade. So we have started my sister was an artist and a painter and a sculptor, and she was just like totally creative. And before she passed away, she had a handbag collection that she was working on. She had done 4 handbags, and she called the collection Color Me Happy. And so the Lupus Foundation and I partnered together, and we have named a stem cell research program in her honor, and it's called the Color Me Happy Foundation for stem cell research. So our goal is to raise $100,000 for stem cell research. We are right now a little over $30,000, so we're getting there. Lupus.org. If you go to lupus.org, all the information about Color Me Happy is there. So just lupus.org. And also we're on Instagram, and in my Instagram, all the links in my bio are all to fundraising components for lupus. So just at Dorothy Toran. And the thing that's also really interesting about people that struggle with lupus, it's also about like the support of family. And because it's such an easy disease to misdiagnose, a lot of women say, my husband just thinks I'm like being lazy. My kids just think I just don't want to play and I'm tired. But like fatigue is like, it's interesting. Toni Braxton has lupus, Selena Gomez has lupus, Nick Cannon has lupus. And Toni Braxton just posted a couple of days ago, she posted a video when she's in bed. And she almost looks like she's asleep, but she's not. She has her glasses on and she's laying on her pillow, and she's talking about how tired she is. And she was like, y'all, the exhaustion is real. So all of those things, the more awareness we have, the more we see people who are dealing with lupus talk about it. It takes away the mystery a lot, I think, about what lupus is, so that people have more understanding about it.
I think we have to not only support it, but get more educated on it.
Absolutely.
Especially if people of color. A lot of things, just the truth, we're affected differently, we're built differently, and we have to do better at taking care of ourselves and not being afraid to go to the doctor and find out
and finding
what may
out
be wrong.
what
Every
may be
little
wrong.
pain means something. Doesn't mean because you worked out.
Sure.
It could mean something other than what it is.
Exactly. And the other thing that I think is important to mention, statistics have shown that communities of color are the lowest percentage of communities that will agree to do clinical trials.
Wow.
Clinical trials are critically important in fights like lupus and cancer, because you've got to do the trials to determine what everybody's markers are across a lot of different things. And that is how research is done when they figure out, okay, we tested 300 people who all had these 4 symptoms, who all took this prescription of medication and this amount of dialysis and this amount of this, and this is what exponentially was better or worse. So the only way you know that information is if people participate in clinical trials. And one of the major things that the National Institute for Health has been saying is we have to get African American people to participate in clinical trials. So just want to highlight that because it's really important. I think sometimes as a community of color, I think that we're afraid of the unknown. So we don't want people.
That is exactly what it is.
Right? And it's like, we don't want people poking us. I don't know what that pill is. I don't like. that is all true, but we're not going to advance it. We're not going to find a cure. It's not going to get better unless we participate. It can't get better by itself, and it's real research.
Let's not be afraid. Let's go out there. Let's do these clinical trials. Let's be as transparent as we possibly can. Where can people find you? Where can they follow you? And please give them the lupus information one more time.
Absolutely. Everyone can follow me on @Dorothy Toran, DOROTHYTORAN. I am unfortunately obsessed with Instagram, so I'm not really on Facebook or LinkedIn or any of those things. I mean, I am, but where I'm most active is on Instagram. And for information about how to donate to the Color Me Happy Foundation, you can just go to lupus.org and type in Color Me Happy in the search engine, and it all comes up.
And before I let you go, when you're going through a rough day, and because I'm a music guy and we love music here, what is a song that you can share with us today that gets you through, it might even get you amped?
Yeah. Oh, that's easy now that you've said that. The Greatest Showman is one of my favorite movies.
Wow.
Keala Settle sings a song called This Is Me, and it is just like,
it's an amazing.
You know this song,
Yes,
This Is Me. It's just like an anthem for like,
oh
my gosh. Layla and I sing it all the time. It's just, it's about power, and it's about courage, and it's about pushing through. So that's what's in my iPhone when I need it.
Well, you heard it here from Ms. Dorothy Toran.
Thank you so much for having me, Joe.
And do what you got to do. Please, we thank you so much.
Thank you so much for having me.
Keep doing what you're doing.
Thank you.
This is June Archer, The Winner Circle. Thank you guys for tuning in.
Bye, everybody.